What's up, nerds? This is Dave.
This is Andrew.
This is Daisy.
And this is the greatest nerd podcast called Ask WhatNerd, where each episode we dive into an important geeky topic and we dissect it, and we cut it open, and we really get into it, and we just reach in there, pull the guts out, and figure out why it's important.
That's beautifully said. Yes. Exactly.
This week, our topic is, Joel, please enlighten us. What are the coolest hobbies for... That's like oxymoron. What are the coolest hobbies for geeks? So the coolest hobby for geeks is literally an oxymoron because if you're a geek, it's not cool. But that's okay.
You could be a cool geek.
You could be a cool geek. I'm a cool geek. Look at me.
I'm a cool geek.
I'll let Daisy go first. What's the coolest topic for geeks? Topic. Daisy, what's the coolest hobby for geeks?
Old school games, actually. It's kind of cool.
It's cool and trendy,
Period.
like a hipster.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to be into like retro games.
Like what?
Oh, yeah, that's
like what
true.
system you think is the coolest system if you're gonna pick one, or
here we
PC?
Ooh.
Here we go.
Not like what do you think is the best? Like what's the coolest? Like if you're gonna get one tattooed on your forehead, what would it be?
The Nokia smartphone.
So just play Snake all
Play
day,
Snake
every
all
day.
The coolest.
Space Invaders.
I go to arcades. I don't have a console.
I was gonna say like something like actually, honestly, if you really want to say what the coolest retro console is, it's actually a pretty easy answer, and there's only one correct answer.
Is that so?
It's the Neo Geo. Basically like an arcade in your house.
Oh.
You can play like Windjammers and Metal Slug and
You know what's, like,
other
really
Neo Geo games.
You know what's really popular nowadays is like barcades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that even nerd? Is that even like a hobby for nerds? That's like everybody does it.
Commercializing nerd culture, kind of.
Yeah.
People go there and they just like it's a
But
it's
it's
a
not
cool
really
thing to do.
nerds. It's also not a hobby. People don't go to a barcade as a hobby.
But yeah, is it a
Yeah,
cool
but I mean-
hobby? But
You go there as like a thing to do every now and then, but nobody's like if you don't look at people's dating profiles and it's like, what do you do for fun? I ride horses. I go to barcades.
well, I guess I could see how, because that's like evidence of arcades becoming cool. That's one way that so arcades are cool, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I just don't think of it as a hobby. Like people generally don't go to arcades like on a weekly basis. Like this is the thing that
Hanging
I do.
out at arcades.
They just kind of go when they feel like it. Like a hobby to me is more like playing board games or playing video games or playing Dungeons and Dragons. I choose Dungeons and Dragons as the coolest
Of course he
geek
does.
hobby.
As the coolest?
Of course he
It's
does.
the coolest.
I think
no, Dungeons and Dragons
that's
is definitely
not
the
the coolest.
least cool. Dungeons and Dragons is the one you're like embarrassed to tell
we're
people that
talking-
you
it's
do.
like-
So when we say coolest, I guess what you thinking of is probably the one you're like the least embarrassed to tell your non-nerdy friends.
what if it's like, I think it's something like really unique, like that makes you interesting. So then like, I like to repair retro like gaming consoles.
That's probably
I
the one.
like, or like I'm a collector of da-da-da. Actually, collecting can be
Collecting is
not always cool.
most people don't think of collectors as cool.
Sometimes it's cool.
I would just say playing video games is probably the coolest because it's the one that like is so accepted at this point. It's like watching movies. It's like, what do you do? I play video games. No one ever's like, you nerd, you play video games?
Yeah,
Like if anything, you're a weirdo for not playing video games nowadays.
that's true.
So, well, for example, if you were, because a lot of athletes play video games and they play like FIFA or Madden or 2K. Is that even considered nerdy at this point?
I think it's just a matter of how you identify it as. If you like identify as a gamer, then you're probably a little on the nerdy side. If you're just somebody who plays video games sometimes, but you don't like identify as a gamer, then it's not that nerdy. But that, it's hard to say. There's no like cut and dry answer for that.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person who plays like sports games only, maybe you probably wouldn't identify as very nerdy, but if you play League and Dota and Overwatch and all those kind of games, and then like RPGs and story games, then you probably fall a little more on the nerdy side. I would say for me, if I was going to pick the coolest, it would be video games, and the least cool is probably LARPing.
LARPing.
No offense to LARPers out there, but if I were to think of things that I'd be embarrassed to tell people that I do for fun, I would say LARPing would be pretty high on my list.
What about like going to watch like superhero movies and whatnot. I feel like back in the days, I mean, if you really, really enjoyed superhero stuff, you were considered pretty nerdy. But nowadays, it's like, you know, it's kind of the trend. Like most people have watched like a superhero film by this point.
Yeah.
But
gotten pretty cool.
To say there's a difference between watching them and saying that you are like into them. You know what I mean? Like if you watch each one when it comes out once in the theater or something, like that's like the mainstream thing to do. But if you're like, oh man, I'm into them, like I watch them multiple times, I study them and dissect them and stuff, like, so you can still be a nerd with superheroes if you want to.
Right. But I think it's becoming more acceptable. Like it's cooler now too.
Yeah, and people are getting into the universes and stuff.
So would you say that is even considered like a nerdy hobby anymore then?
I mean, I think so.
Because if so, I would probably agree that
so.
that is the coolest, because no one's gonna like frown on you for being into the Avengers. It's like, yeah, everybody likes the Avengers.
Everyone likes Avengers.
Well, maybe we're thinking too small. Maybe what if it's something so niche? Like I love reconstructing fighter jets as a hobby. Like if there's some guy out there, that's nerdy? Pretty cool.
Yeah, but is that even nerdy?
I don't know. Is it?
I don't know.
I feel like it could be nerdy.
Could be.
But isn't it like he likes reconstructing like old fighter jets or something? Like that's pretty nerdy.
Playing trivia is pretty nerdy, I think, and that's pretty like especially around we're all in Philly, and Quizzo is like huge down here. Every bar on the face of the earth has Quizzo every night. So and that I would say that is still kind of a nerdy thing that people don't frown upon if you tell them you do.
That is mainstream and not frowned upon, but I don't know if anybody would ever consider that cool.
I mean, people like love Quizzo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really get it. But
well, I think board games in general nowadays is also like kind of a cool, like if you tell people, oh yeah, I play board games and whatnot, people, I mean, generally they're actually making like a comeback. I mean, that's why there's like board game cafes.
There's a new board game cafe opening up around here like once a month.
So it's like it's another one just opened thing now. Yeah. So
board game cafes are pretty cool. When I first saw my like Thirsty Dice, I was like, this place is so cool. So I guess
you're a nerd though.
That's true.
So you're
as a nerd, that's cool.
I mean, I wasn't really into board games previously, and then I went to like my first board game meetup and I really enjoyed it, and then that's how I like got into the whole board game.
It is fun though to go and gather with random people and just play. Now obviously when we're talking about board games here, we're not talking about, you know, Monopoly and Connect 4. We're talking about, because that's kind of where the line is for whether or not it's like nerdy or not. Like the board games you played as a little kid are not really what you're thinking of when you think of nerdy board games. You're thinking of even stuff higher level than Catan, you know, like games like Pandemic, or those are the kind of games that are like nerdy. But even those are becoming more and more accepted. So
right.
So I think the general idea here is that being other than like D&D maybe and LARPing, like most nerdy stuff is pretty accepted now. Like you're not, people don't like, oh, you play video games, you're a nerd. Oh, you do this, you're a nerd. It's kind of like even comics are a little bit, you know, more in the mainstream acceptance.
Oh yeah, and also like I think cosplaying too. I mean, it's not as accepted as the other ones, but I feel like cosplay is more popular nowadays, and people are more open and more accepting of it. And,
yeah, it's not just for like people actually the super nerds.
Yeah, and it's like no longer really a hobby. Some people actually use it as like a main thing that they do now.
They get income from it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you can do that as a job. But then once you do it as a job, then it's not a hobby anymore. Then
I guess that's
true. It's
your job.
Well, I guess I think we're coming up with a lot of a lot of nerd culture now. A lot of these hobbies are acceptable and mainstream, but I still think that very few of them are like, yo, that guy is cool.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess what out of those is actually, whoa, that's pretty cool.
If you were a professional esports player, I think that people would say you were pretty cool.
That's
even
true.
Non-gamers would be like, you play Dota for millions of dollars, that's cool.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
So I'm going to say the coolest hobby in geeky, and my vote goes to esports, man.
Esports.
Good I mean, it doesn't matter. I guess it's good enough that you would actually call yourself an esports.
Because the game has to be cool too, though. Like if
you tell anybody that you're a professional gamer and you make a living playing video games, most people, no matter what game, are going to be like, that's pretty cool.
That's true. That's
true. That's true.
So is everybody on? Do we have any disagreements, or is that the final decision?
Competition makes it cool.
I think so. It's just like saying because at that point it's like saying you play a sport.
Yeah. So competing in game, like esports, is cool. I agree.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Agree with that. Yeah.
Esports is cool.
I agree with that.
Joel wants to know, what about professional Quidditch? Is that
Does that
cool?
part of the competition? Does that follow the rule of cool?
No, because I think the thing that you're competing in needs to have a certain level of mainstream appeal before competing in it will be cool. So Quidditch is not cool at all.
Well, there's
So it will not be cool to be a Quidditch player.
That's true.
But like video games have reached the point of being cool enough that if you say you're a professional at them, you are now cool.
That's true. Well, actually, now that I think of it, say for example, you said like you're a professional like chess player or something like that. Like most people would give you like high respect.
cool,
to-
yeah.
to-
Yeah,
to
they would
be
think it's pretty
honest.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pretty.
But that's 'cause
nerdy,
chess is
like
More
it's a-
respected than Quidditch.
yeah, but I mean, like
Do people even play Quidditch? Is that a Harry Potter
that's actually
game?
a thing. It's like people run
can't
around
believe,
on
like,
sticks
people
like on their legs.
Okay, well that's basically LARPing at that point. So
yeah.
yeah, that's not cool.
But I feel like
Although Harry Potter is another one that is pretty nerdy. That is also
Yeah.
pretty like socially
Mainstream.
accepted
Yeah,
and
that's
not
true.
considered nerdy.
that's true.
But Quidditch is you're going too deep down the Harry Potter rabbit hole at that point that you've now
LARPing.
you've now crossed into
LARPing.
super nerddom where you're not cool anymore.
Okay.
Also, I still think Dungeons and Dragons is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a professional Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't have the same ring as like I'm a pro Overwatch player.
If you were Matt Mercer
For chess.
from Critical Role,
Uh-huh.
and you told people what you do, oh, I'm a voice actor who also happens to host a Dungeons and Dragons channel that gets millions of views. People probably think you're pretty cool.
I mean, I
Also,
don't know.
Matt Mercer is pretty handsome.
I
which
don't
helps
even
as
know
well.
what he looks
Being-
like.
being
to be honest.
handsome is cool.
Being handsome is
Being
cool.
Being
It's
handsome
probably- it's both of
automatically
those
ups your
things.
cool. Anything you're doing, if you're handsome or pretty, it's gonna make
What
it
if
cooler.
What if you are super handsome and you're a pro Quidditch player? I think people will think you're cool.
But they wouldn't think you're cool because you're a pro Quidditch player. They would think you're cool because you're handsome and cool. The fact that you play Quidditch, although if
Makes
you're,
Makes
you
you
quirky.
quirky.
if you're
Yeah.
an influencer, you might be able to make Quidditch cool because
That's true.
you are an
That's very
influencer with your handsome,
Right.
good
You're
looks.
quirky.
So the final verdict is esportsman, right? That's what we decided here.
Pretty
It's-
much,
it's
yeah.
pretty much the coolest of the cool in the nerds.
Yeah.
So there you go. Basically, all you got to do if you want to be a cool nerd is get really, really, really good at a particular video game, make millions of dollars, and then you'll be cool. Once again, this is Ask What Nerd. I'm Dave. I'm here with Andrew and Daisy. Make sure to go to whatnerd.com/ask if you have a question you would like us to dissect. We will pull out our scalpels and scalpels and chop it open and dig into it. Make sure to subscribe and whatever and all that other stuff down in the buttons on the bottom and stuff. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.